back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster. Happy October 1st, Penny. That's
Oh, thank you.
when this episode is coming out. Very exciting. And so, even though obviously it has been fall for a moment, it is officially our time of year now. It
Hell
is
yeah.
it is spooky o'clock. And today I have a little bit of like an anthology episode. I hope you'll kind of
Hmm.
indulge me here. It's not one topic per se. Um, but I've been thinking about doing this, and this seemed like a good time because we all know October, and especially Halloween itself, is a time for remembering the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing helps us remember the dead better than the places that we go to visit them.
Sure.
So, and some people go to extremes to be remembered in unique ways. So today I want to walk a bit through some of the most interesting tombstones in the world.
Ooh, I am
Mhm.
excited.
I thought you would find this fun because I've been getting a lot of like I don't I mean the algorithm the
That algorithm.
that algorithm algorithms got me pegged, and I've been getting a lot of weird like gravestone TikToks and things, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to just really dive into this and see what all is out there.
Hell yeah.
So we're gonna visit a few different ones today. First, we're going to start off at the one that sparked the idea for this episode. We're going to talk about Vivian's Dollhouse in Connorsville, Indiana. And this one is, of course, a bit sad. This is the gravesite of 7-year-old Vivian May Allison. And when Vivian passed in 1899, her father, who was a carpenter, was at that time. This was late October when she passed,
Mhm.
and he was working on a dollhouse for her for Christmas. And then after her passing, they decided to continue on the dollhouse and repurpose it as a tombstone. So this is a beautiful, beautiful little house. Have you ever seen a photo of this by chance, Penny?
I don't think I have.
Oh,
I'm gonna
you
look
would,
at one.
yeah, you would love it. So it's this little like butter yellow Victorian house, and it has green tin roof and trim and actual glass windows, and you can look inside the house, and there's an entire scene. There's a little doll in there and a wood burning stove and a bed and a rug that was made by Vivian's mother. And her parents continued to upkeep this house for nearly 70 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after their passing, they kind of bestowed that duty on their
Mhm.
family, who then continued to keep it up for many more years after that. But today, it is very lovingly taken care of by volunteers in the community. And there's a plaque with it that shows that it was both refurbished in 1991 and then again in 2019. And what I found also really interesting about this one is that surprisingly, there is also a second dollhouse
What?
gravestone that is also in Indiana,
What?
in Rushville, Indiana. And what's really bizarre is that this is the grave of Lova Klein, who died just a few years later in 1902.
Weird.
So we're not talking age
Yeah,
of
so,
the
like, not,
internet.
like, inspired, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking like, oh, someone saw that and was like, ooh, I should do that. Like, this is 1899. Which, I mean, I guess they are in the same state, not super close, but I'm like, maybe like word of mouth, somehow someone
Yeah.
heard something about it and then decided to do a similar thing with their daughter. But yeah, so there are two places you can visit a dollhouse tombstone in Indiana, in Rushville and in Connorsville.
That's so interesting, and I did take a look, it is a very darling little dollhouse.
Isn't that so pretty? And it's got like a little flower bed of real
Mhm.
flowers up front.
It's so cute.
So that is our first. Our second is a gravesite in Rosedale Cemetery outside of Newark, New Jersey, where a full size Mercedes marks the final resting
Mm.
place of Raymond C. And the story behind this stone, a lot of, much like a lot of things in history, there is some speculation here about the truth of these
Sure,
events.
sure.
But the story is that this young car enthusiast named Raymond wanted to drive a Mercedes Benz more than anything. And his older brother David had made a promise to him that when he came of age and got his license, that he would buy him one. But unfortunately, of course, while studying abroad, Raymond passed away in early 1981 at the age of
Mm.
14.
Oh.
Yeah. So, in order to keep his promise to his brother, David had this replica of a 1982 Mercedes Benz 240D carved out of solid granite.
Damn.
Yeah. And it is accurate down to like the smallest details. The tire tread is like the correct
Oh,
tire,
geez.
like, yeah, the screws holding on the plates and everything are exactly how they would be. The customized plates on the front say Ray T, and the car weighs 36 tons. It took over 17 months of work and hundreds of masons to do this work.
Yeah.
And in its total, they estimate that it would have cost at the time, which this is 1981, over $250,000 to
Right, as
create.
you were describing this, I was like, "Sure, wouldn't it have been cheaper to get a real Mercedes?"
Right. All, yeah, probably. Probably. But that would have, rusted over time.
Yes,
This
yes.
won't.
This baby's
Uh,
not going nowhere.
it's not going nowhere. And they did leave off, I read, the hood ornament and the mirrors, like certain parts of things they thought would break off or
Sure.
disintegrate over time. So, yeah, I mean, it's a solid piece and that'll outlive all of us for sure.
Yep.
um, and it did unfortunately also outlive his brother who passed in 2020. But this is a really cool memorial and way to keep a promise to a loved one after they are gone.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, we're gonna get weird
Oh.
and go to a
Don't worry, we've been doing normal stuff so far,
well. These have
like
been like
dollhouses and giant stone cars.
right, but these have been like, oh, that's sweet.
Sure,
This
yes.
is distinctly less touching. So, for this one, we have to visit the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris, France,
Alright.
for the
Very notable.
very, very, very notable graveyard. Also, like this is kind of one of those, like a Highgate or a Hollywood Forever, where like a lot of the tombstones here are interesting, and
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
just this one.
A high percentage of
Yeah, a
interesting.
lot of interesting things happening here. But this one in particular has gotten a lot of notoriety. Is the grave of Fernand Abelot, who passed in 1942. And not much is known about his actual life.
Mhm.
We know he was a musician, an actor, and an architect, but he has left quite a legacy in the form of his tomb. So this monument depicts him lying on his back, which, okay, not so odd for a
Sure.
grave, man lying down.
Sounds like a grave.
Yeah, right. I think this is also the cemetery where there's the a similar bronze statue of a guy like laying prone who was shot in a duel, and it's
Mm.
like him with his top hat. I don't know. I've seen that. I think this is the same cemetery, but so yeah, not odd
Yeah,
for a
that's a
man to
thing,
be laying down. But
as the
what's
dead often are.
as they often do. But what's weird here is his hands are turned up, hovering about an inch above his waist, holding the disembodied head of a woman
Oh.
and staring into her eyes.
Oh.
And the epitaph reads, "They were amazed at the beautiful journey which led them to the end of life." And the legend here is that Aberlour had the idea that he wanted to be staring into his wife's eyes for all of eternity,
Okay.
which, like, cute.
It's like, alright, okay in theory.
But like, I was like, I don't know if he designed this monument. I'm like, maybe someone else interpreted this, and I'm sure he meant like that the rest of her body should also be
Right?
there, or
Yeah,
like
like
a like a photo of her, like something normal. So yeah, regardless, this is, I guess, him and his wife, and they are definitely remembered because this is truly bizarre.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's pretty weird.
I would love to know if I know we've got some listeners in the Europe areas.
Hmm.
If you've been to see this, I'd be really curious to know like the vibe, like what you
Right. Yeah.
like. Did you get like a stanky energy off of it? Because there's also, of course, people are trying to create spin
Oh,
tails,
sure,
and
sure.
there's a lot of people who are like, well, like it represents that he, like, because he wanted to be with his wife for all eternity, that there was like a murder suicide, more or less.
Yeah.
But I don't. He also died during the Nazi occupation of France, so I'm like, there's probably other reasons.
Right. It's like there were extenuating
There were probably
circumstances.
more things happening there
Uh,
than that, but anywho, very interesting nonetheless.
yeah, I will say that is the kind of story that you get told about you when your grave is you holding a disembodied head.
You
So,
know,
like, I don't
he had
I
it
don't agree
coming
with casting any aspersions on the
on the
actual
dead, right?
person, but I'm like, but I see where the story comes from.
Yeah, like you, maybe we should have thought that one through.
Yeah. Or if this was not what you had planned, should have been a little bit more specific with what you were looking for
This
here.
is a lesson in clarity in your death plans.
Right? Like, gazing into her eyes, check.
Jack nailed it.
He didn't even ask for the whole head. I could have just done the eyes.
Oh my god, just holding her eyeballs in his hands.
Like in
Ugh.
Unreal
Yeah.
Monsters.
Or the like Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes, yes, the
Not
pale
Pan.
man.
Yeah, just the eyes in the hands looking at them. Oh, that gave me a giggle fit. Okay. Anywho, on to Marion, Ohio.
Woo.
We've got another peculiar stone here referred to as the Merchant's Ball, which sounds like a fancy event for wealthy
It
people.
does.
But it's actually the final resting place of one Charles Merchant, who passed in 1896. And the giant granite ball that we are discussing here was placed on top of like the actual headstone is like a stone plinth that's just
Hmm.
very thin and narrow.
Sure.
And then we've got this big granite ball on top that was it's very polished, very shiny. The only place that they didn't polish was a like rough spot at the base, which is where the ball was to rest on the plinth.
Hmm.
Which makes sense. You leave a little bit of exposed stone. Um, they're assuming that the stone on stone contact is going to
Yeah.
be good. Um, so it was within a couple years of the installation that this rough spot started to show, and the family concluded that the ball was somehow moving.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing here is this, again, much like our Mercedes, this is a 5,200-pound ball of granite.
Yeah. I'm looking
Uh,
at it now. That's a big ball of granite.
that's a big guy. And again, like they had that exposed stone between the weight and the friction, they assumed that it would have kept in place. And of course, they're not worried about attaching it. They're not worried about theft.
Yeah.
Nobody can
Yeah.
pick up the 50 this huge granite ball and leave it. But so they noticed the shift. The family brought in a crane, lifted it up, put some tar in there to secure it, and placed it back down in its correct orientation. That was in 1898. And now, if you go look at it today, it is still rolling.
I was gonna say, I was like, in these photos, I definitely see the bald spot, so it sounds like that did not work.
It did not work. And the bald spot's about currently halfway up the right-hand side of the ball. So of course, because of how people are, many people believe that there's a ghostly reason behind the movement
Sure.
of the ball. The more likely explanation is that ice and water in Ohio is getting trapped between the ball and the base and
Say
causing it
perhaps
to,
the ghost of physics.
yeah, the ghost of science. But yeah, getting trapped in there, letting the ball kind of slide around over time. regardless, very interesting monument indeed. Very weird little thing. And if you look at photos of this, there are balls like surrounding it as well now. Almost like Stonehenge, but
Yeah.
big granite other spheres around it, and those all have like family members' names engraved in the stones. So
Ooh.
I'm not sure if they are buried there or if that was like just a symbol of like
Yeah,
him surrounding.
ceremonial,
Yeah,
yeah.
because he was like the monarch of a
Yeah.
large railroad empire family. So I don't know if it was just like, here are my children and family, or if they're actually there.
Yeah.
But
At
yeah.
first, I thought that they were unrelated, and I was like, "Oh, so everyone saw it and was like, ooh, I
Ooh,
also wanted like that." So each
bury
person
me in the ball
individually
section.
was like, "Ooh, want that big granite ball." And then it was like, "Ah, shit. Jake also got the big granite ball. I did the great granite ball."
They have like quote the ball pit at the
Yes.
cemetery where they're like, yeah, bury him in the
Ball
ball
pit.
pit.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. No, they do seem to be related.
All right.
I found this next one so interesting because it's so close to me and I had never heard of it. So,
Ooh.
this is the Davis Memorial in Mount Hope Cemetery in Hiawatha, Kansas. That's just like an hour from Kansas City. It's very close. So Midwestern. Like, it's just an hour. Get
That
get get there in a shake of a lamb's tail. But this didn't start out as anything unique or spectacular. So at the time of Sarah Davis's passing in 1930, her grave was just marked by a simple tombstone. But shortly after that, her husband, John, removed the stone and replaced it with a marble statue.
Mhm.
Okay, still
Okay.
a pretty normal thing to do. Well, then over the course of the rest of his life, John would commission 11 statues of Sarah that depicted her at different ages. There is an angel with Sarah's face on it. They have a few that are like him and her at different ages
Mhm.
sitting in armchairs next to each other. And then the last statue that was added is of John as an old man in the armchair and an empty chair next to him. Unfortunately, due to the fact that this memorial was not like planned to look like this, they are placed chaotically, facing all different directions. Just it's kind of like when you're playing Animal Crossing and you have to empty
Yeah.
your pockets really fast. And so you start dropping furniture and stuff on the ground, and it's all in like a 10 by 10 box and it's facing the wrong way and it's all butted up against each other. That's what this looks like. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like that.
and they the kind of final thing that was added to this was a marble canopy, which I believe I read weighs like 50,000 pounds. I don't know, something crazy.
Ooh, yeah.
Made of Italian marble. And they also put a wall around the like plot lines of John and Sarah's burial area. But again, because this wasn't planned, the wall is like butted up
Yeah.
against the statues. So it's just very chaotic and weird and interesting. There's a lot of speculation about why John did this. Obviously, like the sweet answer would be like, oh, he had so much like love and grief that he,
Yeah.
just kept building this monument to her honor. But they were also like Witty Witch. So there's also a lot of speculation that maybe there was some anger with Sarah's family, or that John was trying to basically make sure that the fortune was gone before he was dead.
Ooh.
Um, so in any case, the memorial took John's entire fortune, and
Alright.
eventually he, to continue building it, signed over both his farm and their mansion,
Wow.
and there was nothing left, and now they're both buried in the weirdest little grave in Kansas.
Yeah, I love that you I love that you made the Animal Crossing,
Isn't that what it looks like?
comparison here because it literally does. Because it also looks like when you're, like, trying to, like, build a fence and you can't, like, fully move your items the way you want them to, so
You can't like
everything just
turn them.
ends up kind of awkwardly pushed up next to each other, and you're like, "It would take me an hour to pick up all of these and replace them, so fine, you can just stay like that."
Screw it. Yeah.
It also
That's
kinda looks like all of these, like, marble statues are, like, trapped in a weird carport with the roof.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I literally had that. I was looking at it while I was writing this. I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. And as I was speaking just now, I had the Animal Crossing epiphany.
Yes, you
It's
are
like,
so
that's
right.
what that is.
And also,
Um,
like, the corners not matching up quite right when
yeah.
you try and build something, you're like, "Ah, shit."
Yeah. There's like 4 marble urns at each corner
Yeah.
that say like, please, they said something about like, please keep off the monument. I'm like, how would I even get in there? Like, what, me in what walking room?
Right.
But yeah, very, I mean, I feel like I'm like, I have to go see this. It's
You
so
do,
I'm
yeah.
so intrigued. It's so
Yeah,
close.
especially if it's that close, you should definitely
Yeah.
check it out.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is very close to the cemetery in Kansas that's also supposed to be one of the like 7 portals to hell.
Oh, there you go, 2 for
So
1.
take a cute little day trip and go to hell.
Go to hell, visit a bunch of creepy statues.
So this is our last one, and I
Ooh.
selected this, Penny, because A, it is fun and
Mhm.
lighthearted, but also because you and I got to see this in person and had no context for it at the time. And so when it came up in my research, I was
Ooh.
like, oh my goodness, how cute. So Penny and I went to Hollywood Forever
We
Cemetery in
did.
LA back in 2022 before Midsummer Scream, and we came across this adorable tombstone that looks like it's a granite sofa
Yes.
surrounded by 8 bronze dachshunds that like some are on the couch, some are like peeking over the back, some are on the ground. And what was interesting about this, so the grave is for a person named Mike Zemansky, but there's no death date
Mhm.
currently. Turns out that's because Mike is still alive.
What?
And he designed this stone to represent his love for his dogs. So he has had 7 dachshunds in his lifetime.
Mhm.
So 4 of them on the memorial are his current
Mhm.
dachshunds that he has. 3 are the dogs who he has had that have passed away. And the extra one is to represent all the dogs he hopes to have in his future.
Oh.
But the stone was installed in 2021, so the
Okay.
year before we
Oh,
went,
we got because I had gone to LA in 2019,
and it wasn't there.
at the
Yeah.
end, and I did go to Hollywood Forever, and I was like, "I don't remember." I feel like I would remember
I
this.
remember you making a comment about, like, "I don't remember seeing this."
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the year before you and I went, and it was unveiled as, like, a celebration for Mike's 61st birthday,
Oh my god, I love this.
and he had a gathering with all of his friends and their dogs. And they all, like, sat on the couch and had cake and, like, had a whole little thing, and I thought that was so stinking cute.
That's delightful.
Yeah. And the tombstone epitaph says something about, still bringing people together.
Hmm.
So Mike is a former journalist, and he is, I guess, he's been known for his like extravagant parties and bringing people
Mm.
together and introducing people to each other. And so his hope with the tombstone and it being like a sofa that could hold probably 3 people at least, it's
Yeah,
pretty
it's big.
large, um, is that people will sit there together and chat and become friends in the cemetery.
I
So
love that.
very, very cute.
Oh, yeah, that's I mean, I'm like, this is definitely, like, a death positive win of being like,
Right.
"Yeah, like, this is what I like to do in life, it's what I hope to continue to do in death, and why not make it happen right now so you don't end up with a disembodied head situation?"
Exactly. And
Mike was smart, he was like, "I'm gonna be here to supervise this."
yeah, and he like I read an interview with him where he talked about he like loves cemeteries and he specifically
Yeah,
loves Hollywood Forever, and he was like, I wanted to have this too so like I can enjoy it while I'm alive because I love going to
totally.
the cemetery with my dogs, and he was like, I wanted to be able to like enjoy it, and then when I'm gone, people can come hang out here and remember like hanging out here with me. I was
Yeah.
like, that's so cool. And now I'm like, do I need to pre-make my tombstone? I
Right? I
kind of
know, I'm
love
like,
this
this kinda
idea.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, like normalize unveiling your own tombstone at your birthday party.
Oh my god, right? What a great party it is to be like,
That's
"Hello, this is my tomb.
Well, that's like so
Welcome."
much so much better than like, when you turn 60 or whatever age it is. I think it's like around 60 when people start throwing like over the hill
Oh,
parties.
yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Skip that step. Unveil your own tombstone.
It's an under the hill party
Under the
because
hill
I'm gonna
party.
be dead in the ground, but you can be up here and hang out.
So I thought that was a fun one to end on because it's just
Yeah.
really cute and lighthearted and fun, and has also given me a lot to think about my death plan.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel every time we come up with new death plan ideas.
I know, I know. We got to make like a some kind of disclaimer on the podcast. It's like whatever the latest episode was is my standing
Yes.
my standing wishes.
Yes.
Well, that was today's episode. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I thought this was a really just fun, different thing that we've never really explored before.
Yeah.
There's
It was super
also
fun.
a bajillion more that we could talk about.
Right? I
If
know
we
as you were telling it, like, there are a few that I know of that are in my brain that I was like, "Ooh, is she gonna mention this?" And you didn't, so this definitely means we could
Mm.
revisit this if folks enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would honestly love to have like the Penny version of this episode
Mm.
too, so that we can hear your some of your favorites. But that's it. I Again, if you visited any of these, please let me know. I would love to
Yes.
hear about it. Or would you unveil your tombstone at your birthday party? Do you want to come to Penny and I's tombstone
Don't
unveiling
reveal, yes.
birthdays? Let us know. If you are enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to us if you would consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to us. You can do that on Spotify now. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, or you can comment on episodes. I think if you're listening on Podbean, but you can also send those to us in Instagram DMs or however it gets to us. We'll take them, however you got them,
We will.
and we like to read them here on the podcast. So I believe Penny has one to share with us today.
I sure do, Mitch. This one was left on our Podbean, which is where our podcast is hosted. So you can certainly feel free to comment there. This is from the Greatest Dane Mama, who says, "Love
Appropriate.
listening." Yeah, I know. Love listening to these two spooky beauties. Instantly puts me in a great mood and gives me those cozy, spooky vibes. Keep up this amazing podcast. I have tried other spooky type podcasts, and yours is just the absolute best.
Oh. Well, now I gotta know, Greatest Day in Mama, are you gonna make a couch tombstone with your
Yeah.
with bronze Great Danes?
That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be pretty cool.
And are you gonna invite us to the unveiling? We want to know.
Please do.
Well, thank you so much for listening today. If you'd like to keep up with us, you can follow us over on Instagram at Ghouls Night in Pod. We also have merch available for our podcast over at midgemunster.com/shop. And if you are looking for me, you can find me across the web at Midge Munster.
And you can find me at Penny Snark.
And until next time,
Goodbye.
goodbye.